So, are you tired of these really cheap looking VHS overlays everyone uses, and you are looking for the best and most accurate way to get the old school tape / VHS look without spending any money on equipment or crazy video effects? NTSCQT has your back. But what is NTSCQT exactly? NTSCQT is a simple program that is made on the basis of an algorithm that allows you to achieve the effect of a real old tape recorder or VHS. So why use this program in particular and not just some other video effect? In my opinion, I think that this program produces the most authentic old school tape or VHS look that I've ever seen. I think this has to do a lot with how the algorithm mimics the mechanics behind the artifacts that occur when recording onto real magnetic tape or VHS tape. On the GitHub for NTSCQT, you can see some of the artifacts that the program will emulate if you scroll down a little bit, such as dot crawl, ringing, chroma / luma delay error, also known as color bleeding, rainbow effects, chrominance noise, head switching noise, long extended play, luminance noise, and oversaturation. But in the program itself, it's not limited to just these artifacts that you could adjust. And if you guys want a full explanation for each of these artifacts, I'll leave a link to the GitHub here in the description, so you could read about this. It goes really in depth about exactly what causes these artifacts to happen on actual tape. It's very interesting, honestly, but I'm not going to get into the mechanics behind this in this video. But why don't you actually use a camera that records onto magnetic tape, or record a digital video onto VHS using a VCR to really get the most accurate effect? To answer that question, this is my own opinion though. I think just using a software solution, it's just far more convenient than going out and looking for different kinds of equipment to achieve this effect. And with some of this equipment, you're going to need some space, and you do have the possibility that some of this equipment, which is older, just might not even work. And plus, you could adjust almost every aspect of the effect to really dial in the look you want. Fun fact about this program: the algorithm it's designed around was originally intended for use in analog artifact removal neural networks, but here we're using it for artistic purposes. Okay, to actually get this program onto your computer, it's just go to the link in the description, scroll down a little bit, and right here, just click download NTSCQT, and you're downloading the exe, and you're done. Now this is just the exe, it's not an installer or a zip file. The program itself is just an exe, and that's it, which I think that's cool. It's only 128 megabytes too. So once you have it downloaded, just double click on it and a terminal will come up, a command prompt, which is fine, don't freak out. And sometimes it'll take some time to load up, and there we go. Now before we dive into using this program, you're going to need a fairly modern computer for this to run smoothly. The developer of the algorithm and the developer of the program itself, they say that the code is designed to be accurate and not fast, so just keep that in mind. There's currently nothing inputted. In order to put your video or your picture, this also takes pictures. Go down here to open file and just browse around and choose a picture you wanna give the effect to. So I'm gonna choose a picture of my city. So what I really like to do before I get started on messing with any of these sliders is I like to go to Pro mode, which has all of those sliders and more. This is basically just, the Pro mode is basically just a advanced sort of mode. You have more options, which I like. So I always take Pro mode before I get started on working on the effect. What does each one of these sliders do? How many sliders is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 16 sliders which you can adjust. So basically, Composite Pre-Emphasis just makes the image more sharp, more saturated. That looks disgusting. Yeah, I don't really like to put this one up all the way because it just starts to look weird. If you're going for that look, just increase Composite Pre-Emphasis, but I usually keep it down pretty low. So for these next two sliders, you're going to need VHS Emulating to be ticked. VHS Out Sharpen, basically, like the name suggests, it just makes the image more sharp. It's like in Photoshop where you add the unsharp. It kind of adds contrast to edges of things. It makes the image appear more sharp. Edge wave, basically, it adds little waves to the edges of the image. So another cool thing about this program is you have the console right here. So it will tell you each value that you're changing. It's pretty cool. I don't know. I like having it here. But you could minimize it. It's fine. You don't really need it. So this ringing slider really doesn't do much, it seems like. Unless you get to a really high value like near 1. It will just disappear. But I really don't see any noticeable changes sliding this up and down. In order for this ringing slider to work, you're going to need to disable ringing too, but I explain that later in the video. Okay, so ringing power actually changes how strong the ringing effect is. I keep ringing. I can't really say it. I'll zoom in so you guys can see the changes, but there you go. That's basically what it does. Adds these little halos, these little rings around edges of things. So for this next one, I'm going to turn up ringing power all the way so you guys can notice it a bit better. Ringing shift. So what I think this does, I'm not really sure what exactly this does, because it just makes it disappear beyond a certain value. But what I think it does is it increases the frequency of the halos, the little rings around the edges. So if you guys look very closely, I will zoom in very far. You can see the little rings around the edges. They increase in frequency and they get really small using ringing shift. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. Okay, so I don't really know what frequency, noise size, and noise amplitude do. Eventually, later on in the video, I do explain what these do. Okay, so I got a different image to demonstrate these next two sliders, which are color bleed horizontal and color bleed vertical. So these two effects are really noticeable on blue and red objects for some reason. That's what I've noticed. I don't really know why that happens. I've noticed that the color bleed vertical is probably the most noticeable out of these two sliders when it comes to the color bleed effect. So as you can see, the blue of the Earth is shifting under the space shuttle as I change the color bleed vertical. So horizontal basically just does the same thing but on the x-axis or horizontal axis. I don't know if you guys can see that right there on the side of the space shuttle where it's touching the Earth, kind of. You can see the blue of the Earth shifting a little bit. So the next slider, video chroma noise, it basically adds color noise and random variances in color. So let's increase this. So as I increase this, you'll see a lot of distortions in color and changes in color. As I decrease this, it gets a bit cleaner. So the next slider, video chroma phase noise, basically just adds streaks of random color variances. As I increase this, you'll see, really notice the little lines of color that are the lines of shifted color. And I decrease it, they go away. So video chroma loss will basically add black and white lines. The name video chroma loss basically means that there's color loss. Chroma means color in video. So as I increase this, the frequency of dropped out color on the video signal will become more and more. As I decrease this, it becomes cleaner. Next slider, video noise. Do I really need to explain this one? It's basically just noise. If you want to make it look dirtier, just increase the video noise. Okay, so video Scanline Phaseshift. Honestly, I've been playing around with this for like 5 minutes. I really can't tell what it does. Okay, so I've been messing around with video Scanline Phaseshift and video Scanline Phaseshift Offset, and I really can't tell if it's doing anything. Video scanlines, I don't see any video scanlines. I've went into Photoshop, my video editor, and I zoomed in all the way. There's no scanlines. I analyzed, I rendered out 2 different pictures and 2 different videos to see if these 2 sliders do anything. I changed the values and then I rendered separate versions. I zoomed in all the way. I can't see a difference. I really don't know what these do. Yeah, I'm going a bit crazy, but they really don't make a difference. The other 2 that I didn't notice any differences when I was messing around with the values was frequency noise size and frequency noise amplitude. I really don't notice a difference with these either. I rendered out 2 different pictures and 2 different videos with different values for these sliders. I couldn't notice a difference. So I guess these 4 sliders don't really do much in terms of it affects the overall picture. They might do something, I'm not sure. If you know, please tell me in the comments, or if you're the developer, message me. I want to know what these do, but I've been experimenting with these sliders for a few hours now and I can't notice a difference. So the next slider, head switch move speed. You're going to need to tick up here, head switching. Need to be ticked in order for you to see this effect. On an image, if I move this around, it will change the position of where this little ripple in the video signal will be. For video, I'm not sure exactly what this does. I haven't experimented with this slider yet, but I'm assuming this will change the speed at which this little ripple will go through the video signal. So those are all the sliders. Now, what do these tick boxes up here do? Alright, so I already kind of explained what head switching is for. It adds the little ripple in your video signal. Ringing 2 is basically just a different variance of the ringing effect. So ringing 2 is on by default, and when you turn it off, it's a different ringing effect. When you have ringing 2 disabled, you will definitely have a more noticeable ringing effect, and yeah, you really mess up the wow, that looks pretty cool. I mean, if you want that effect, disable ringing 2 and turn ringing down. If you have ringing 2 disabled, ringing power and ringing shift don't really change the way the effect looks, but changing here ringing will definitely change the effect. And yeah, you could make it look crazy. What does it look like at 0? Yeah. I kind of didn't know what composite out Chroma Lowpass, composite in Chroma Lowpass, and composite out Chroma Lowpass Lite were when I was recording originally, but I kind of figured out what they were. So in order for you to actually notice these tick boxes, you're going to need VHS Emulating to be off, otherwise you will not see any differences from ticking these. So to provide an explanation as to what these actually mean or do, composite out Chroma Lowpass and composite in Chroma Lowpass. So basically what they do is they get rid of rainbowing around edges of objects and moire around high frequency information. Keep in mind that these tick boxes do not remove rainbowing and moire that is already in a photo. It removes these artifacts that are caused by the effect itself. So don't expect it to remove these artifacts that are already in your photo. You can see there's moire and there's rainbowing around these buildings, which is basically high frequency information. You know, there's a lot of lines, a lot of contrasting edges in a very small area, which will cause moire and these rainbowing effects. You'll notice the rainbowing around text as well, especially white on black text. You'll notice these, you know, there's like color around the edges of the text. Kind of looks strange. So there is something interesting I noticed when playing around with the Composite Out Chroma Lowpass Lite. Despite what I've been saying that the low-pass filters will get rid of rainbowing, moire, this tick box will actually kind of exaggerate it a little bit, it seems. I don't know, but to my eyes, when Composite Out Chroma Lowpass Lite is enabled, it exaggerates the rainbow effect. There's two things I didn't touch on in the original recording either, which is seed. Basically, it just randomizes the effects, which is pretty cool. Keep clicking the seed here, just randomize the sliders for you. Wow, that looks like. You could even input a number. Okay, so seed will only accept a double-digit number. You can't really put like 200 or something. Like it only accept 2 digits, so the last seed will be 99, and yeah. So you have 99 seeds to choose from, 99 random variances. X2 output by nearest neighbor will output a video that is upscaled 2 times with the nearest neighbor scaling algorithm, since the image is downscaled for a realistic effect. This will help reduce blurring slightly when you are putting the video into a high resolution project. But here's the thing, you could basically do this using your photo or video editor if it has nearest neighbor scaling. It will basically yield the same results. But it is up to you if you want to use NTSCQT's nearest neighbor upscaler or if you want to do it in post in your video editor. And also, this will not work on photos. I forgot to touch on one thing, and it's this button. This button will just re-render the effect on the current image. VHS emulating, you need this on for VHS out sharpening and edge wave to work. Okay, so VHS Chroma Vert blend, I really don't know what it does visually. NTSC Output, I really don't know what it does either. It kind of does that to the image, which is the head switch effect. But I usually just have that on. Color bleed before, I'm assuming it layers the color bleed effect before the other effects, which I'm assuming is the VHS and the NTSC tape effect. So it'll layer it before instead of after, which barely makes a difference. So no color subcarrier, just makes it black and white, and that's about it, nothing too special. And VHS S-Video Out will increase the image quality slightly. It will make the image a bit sharper. This is because in the real world, an S-video signal is typically higher quality compared to other types of analog video signals like composite. So if you want it to look a bit more clearer, turn on VHS S-Video Out. Okay, so you just made the perfect effect, you really like the way it looks, and you want to save it. So you come down here to import/export preset. So don't get scared by this. This is basically just copying the number values of what you've inputted for the program for the effect. So basically the way you make a preset is go to your desktop and make a new text document, name it whatever you want, NTSC QT types, and make copy all of this. Click copy. It will copy all of this, all the information here. Go to your text document and paste it, and save it, of course. So after you've done that, let's say like you change a few of these settings, you really don't like the way it looks, just change some of these around. So you don't like the way it looks, come back down here to import export preset. You delete all of this. You go to your text document. You Control A and Control C to copy. Control V into this dialog and save it. And it will change all the parameters back to what you saved, which is pretty cool actually. Though this is kind of a weird way to kind of like save a preset, but it works nonetheless. I like it. It's good. So what I recommend if you are going to use this program a lot is to make a folder NTSCQT presets, and you can just drop all of your presets in here. I have one right here, but it's empty for some reason. I don't know what happened to it. But you can just drop all of your presets in here, and boom, you have all of your cool looking effects saved. And the program actually does come with built-in effects, which do look pretty nice. I do use some of these sometimes when I want to get a quick look. I just use one of these and I mess with the parameters. But yeah, that's the program itself. Alright, so enough about the software. Let's get into some of the results of this thing. If you're shooting with the forethought that you're going to apply this effect later in post, I recommend that you overexpose slightly to hide the details and the highlights, usually about a stop or two above what you would normally expose at. Since a lot of footage I've been looking at was shot on older cameras, I've noticed that details in clouds and things like that, bright objects, they're kind of just missing because older consumer grade video camcorders had worse dynamic range compared to modern day video camcorders and DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. Because the sensor is so small on those old video camcorders, the highlights would clip a lot. Or you could just set your camera to automatically expose for you, which I think it looks pretty nice. It kind of has that amateurish feel to it. But what's also important in selling this look is the frame rate. I recommend you either shoot at 59.94 or 29.97. If you want a soap opera sort of look, I recommend 59.94. If you want just a standard, just go with 29.97. I really like the way 60 FPS looks on these old tape recorders. I don't know, it just looks otherworldly, it looks strange, but I like it a lot. Okay, so if you have footage that you did not shoot yourself and you still want to clip the highlights, you could totally do that, but I just recommend that you do it before you input it into the program. So the way I would do it is in DaVinci Resolve, I would go here to the gain and I would just turn it up a little bit until I see my the details and highlights, like the clouds for example, just kind of just disappear. I wouldn't push it too far like this, that looks ridiculous, but subtle, be subtle with it. So here I have two clips. I'm going to show you guys what the grade can do, clipping the highlights a little bit, slightly, clipping the highlights without clipping, clipping the highlights without clipping. And there you have it, what is in my opinion the best way to emulate the old school tape / VHS look using a digitally emulated solution. I wish I could have compared NTSCQT to a real transfer to a VHS tape, but I don't have a VCR. Luckily someone has done a comparison between different VHS emulators, including NTSCQT and a real VHS tape. So before I go, I'm going to leave you guys with a quote from the developer of the algorithm this program is based around. It is my hope that all the new quote-unquote Simpson wave videos might at least try harder to actually look like old VHS, instead of throwing a blur, noise, and a sharpen filter with a looping recording of VHS static overlaid on top.